What's a penguin's favourite aunt? Antarctica. Get it? Antarctica. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, geography themed joke for you. Right, we're going to be carrying on looking at South America. We are on lesson 3, I believe, now. And we're going to be looking at mountains today. But just before we get on with the lesson, there's something I want to show you. A parent very kindly sent me a link by email to a website all about South America. But particularly on this website about South America are what's called virtual tours. Obviously at the moment can't go to South America, a little bit difficult, planes aren't really flying, but you can have a look around some of these places virtually. Now I'll put this link onto the website so you can have a look at it. But you've got all different places, and at the bottom it says take the tour. Some of them are onto a website, some of them go onto, they say, an app you can download. They're all different, but I had a look at one, and where was the one I looked at? So the one I looked at, all different here. We have under the water. Now this one here is the one I looked at, in Argentina and Brazil. And when you take the tour, it's a really cool website where you can sort of move around. Take a tour around the place. It plays some interesting music at you. And it gets dramatic. That's about as much as I can take. But you can always mute it if you want to. I mean, you could mute me, but, well, anyway. Okay. We're going to go back to the lesson now. So that's going to be on the website for you to have a look at. But today we're carrying on with our topic of South America, and we're going to be looking at mountains. Now, this is what's called a topographical map. Basically, it's a posh word where it means it shows you the heights of different parts of somewhere, a place. So in this case, we've got South America. From looking at this, can you guess which bits are showing the mountains? Bear in mind that the mountains will be the highest part. So which colour do you think is showing the mountains? Okay, so the sort of the orangey brown area here, that shows you where the highland is, or the mountains. Anything that's green is very low, and the darker green it is, the lower it is, or the closer it is to what's called sea level. Basically, the level of the sea. Okay, so you can see here, this is very low, and then around all the way along the spine of South America, the back of South America, is highland, and you'll see why in a second. So there's a mountain range that runs all the way down the spine of South America. Just show you it again here. And that's called the Andes Mountains. And it is the longest mountain range in the world and one of the highest. It's around 4,500 miles long. The highest mountain in the Andes is Mount, insert Mr. Kent saying that correctly here, Aconcagua. Yes, that's the best attempt I'm going to make at that. Which has an elevation, a height, of 6,962 metres. Right, think about a metre stick in the classroom. Have that image in your head. That's 1 metre. I'm about 1.7 metres, roughly. This is 6,962 metres. So it's about, well, let's say about 4,000 Mr. Kent stood on top of each other, which would be quite painful for the one at the bottom. Anyway, the only mountain range in the world that is higher than the Andes is the Himalayas in Asia. Okay, so this picture shows the Andes from Santiago in Chile. You can see how close it is to the city. Big city, massive mountain range. This is a view of the Andes from a town in Peru. Slightly different. These don't seem quite as tall here. The Andes are also a really important part of South American history. And if you think about a history topic, the Mayans, that's all linked to South America. One of the most famous historical sites in the Andes is the Inca city of Machu Picchu, which you may have heard of. And that's one of the links, pardon me, sorry, one of the links on the virtual tour is about Machu Picchu. So I'd really recommend going and having a look at that. So why do you think the mountains in South America a one continuous mountain range? Why don't you think there's any breaks in it? Well, the reason is because of how mountains are made. Now, the Earth is made up of several layers. Okay, the crust is the top layer of the Earth, which is made up of large plates, and they're called tectonic plates, not plates that you put your dinner on. These are tectonic plates. The plates are constantly moving. They're not still. They don't move very much, but they are always moving. Mountains are formed when the tectonic plates push against each other. If you watch me, as the plates push together, they push up. And that's what gives you the mountain shape. They push together and they push up. Now, this map here shows you the world's tectonic plates. Okay, now the tectonic plates don't necessarily line up with the continents. Some of them do, but not all of them. But if you have a look at South America here, you can see that the edge of the plate runs right along the spine, exactly where the Andes Mountains are. So the reason that the Andes Mountains run all the way along the spine of South America is because it's got a tectonic plate running all the way along the spine. You only get mountains where those tectonic plates are. Okay. So, hopefully you know what a volcano is. You studied it in year 4, so you might have to cast your mind back a little bit. But do you know how they're made? Well, a lot of the mountains in the Andes are volcanoes. If there are cracks or weaknesses in the Earth's crust, it lets magma, rock so hot it's turned into liquid, it's not lava, it's called magma, to escape. The magma then explodes through the crack as a volcanic eruption. The magma builds up in a magma chamber until the pressure is too much and it has to be released. Okay? When a volcano erupts, it expels or shoots out lava, molten rock, not magma. As soon as it leaves the volcano, it becomes lava. Before it leaves, it's magma, ash and gas. When that lava cools, it forms solid rock, which leads to the formation of volcanoes. Don't worry too much if you're not with me on that. The main thing you need to know is that mountains are formed by tectonic plates pushing together. Volcanoes are formed when you've got a crack or a gap in the tectonic plates and the crust that allow magma to come through. When it erupts, lava cools, and then it becomes a volcano. Now, there are different types of volcanoes. You've got active, you've got dormant, and you've got extinct. Do you know what they mean? Okay, so active volcanoes is any volcano that has erupted in the last 10,000 years and is expected to erupt again. It doesn't have to have erupted in the last couple of years. It could be anything up to 10,000 years if it's expected to erupt again. Dormant volcanoes haven't erupted in that time period. So the last time they erupted was over 10,000 years ago. But they are expected to erupt again at some point soon. So it might be they erupted 20,000 years ago, and maybe they erupt every 20,000 years, roughly. Extinct volcanoes are not expected to erupt again. Now, the majority of volcanoes tend to be active or dormant, because it's very difficult to say that a volcano is extinct, because we just don't know for certain that it is never going to erupt again. So most volcanoes are classed as either active or dormant. Some are classed as extinct. Now, oh, here we go again. Insert Mr. Ked pronouncing this one correctly. Tungurahua yes, I'm butchering that as much as I do Spanish, in Ecuador is one of the most active volcanoes in the Andes. Now, there are 4 main zones of volcanoes in the Andes. You've got the northern, the central, the southern, and what's called the austral zone. And there are many volcanoes in each of these, not just one, there's lots. The Andes is home to Ochos del Salado. Oh, I'm having a nightmare. On the border between Chile and Argentina, and it's the tallest volcano in the world, at 6,893 metres. That's volcanoes. Now, the Andes are used in lots of different ways by the people who live there. People who live there use the Andes for farming, so they can grow crops to feed themselves and their families. Now, you might be thinking, how are they doing that on a mountain? Mountains are quite steep. You can have like plants growing out on the sides? Well, no. Because they're too steep to farm, farmers make or form terraces, so they can grow the crops more easily. So if you can see here, they almost turn them into steps all the way up the sides of the mountains. And because they've made these steps, they can then grow plants and crops on each individual step, which is quite clever, really. Many of the settlements in the Andes are difficult to reach because of how steep the terrain is. So llamas and alpacas are often used to transport heavy goods from one place to another. It's very common there. People use wool from the llamas to make ropes, rugs, and fabrics. Now, the Andes is also great because it provides lots of useful resources. It provides a lot of gold, silver, gas, coal, iron ore, tin, copper, and nitrates. And there are many mines in the Andes where these resources can be extracted. So it's good for farming and it's good for resources. So it's very valuable to the South American people. And this is the largest gold mine in the world here. The Andes is also home to a lot of what are called hydroelectric dams. Basically, where you've got flowing water, if you've got a big enough source of flowing water, a river, if you put a dam across it, as the water goes through, it can generate electricity because it pushes turbines round. So by doing this, they can generate electricity for themselves, and then they can either use that for themselves or sell it on for money. Another way the Andes is important is because it's a really popular tourist spot. Not so much at the moment, but normally. Tourism's really important part of the economy in the Andes. Many tourists visit these mountains every year. Most of them to trek, hike, walk, go on the llamas, mountain bike or ski. Because don't forget, although it is warm in certain parts, it's very cold in others. We saw in the last lesson the different climates in the different parts of South America. And they also go there to experience the history and the culture. We looked at Machu Picchu, which is here. The Andes is full of history and it's full of very unique culture. So, to recap, the Andes have many different uses. It runs the entire spine of South America. It's formed because of tectonic plates pushing together. And it has many different uses. Now, your activity for today. There's a couple of different ones you can choose from. And as normal, I'm going to upload this to the website. So, you can have a go at answering some questions if you like, and that's absolutely fine. However you want to do that, they are here. And all of the questions have been covered in this video. So you may need to rewind bits of it and have a look at it, but it's all been covered. You've got a different version of that sheet here. Remember, you only need to do one of these activities. You can have a go at creating this instead, which is more of a free, almost like creating a poster. Then you've got some picture cards to help you. And I will leave these in there. I'm not going to show you them now because you can have a look through them at your own pace. And then the other activity I want to show you, which you might choose to do, now it will require a printer, so I know not everyone will be able to do this, and you don't have to, but those of you that want to can do. You have a template here, which you'll need to print out. And when you fold it together, it will make a triangular prism. Okay, like a 3D triangle, basically. Okay, which will kind of look a bit like a mountain, essentially. And then it's got the task here for you to have a go at. So it says cut out the 3D mountain template, that's the one I just showed you, and use it to create a mountain of information about the Andes. So on each of the sides, you're going to write information about the Andes. And then you have a mountain of information. Quick tip, write the information before you fold it up and make the mountain. Writing on it once you've made the mountain is going to be quite difficult. Okay, so choice of your activity is entirely up to you. The answer at the bottom for you to check afterwards. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. Speak to you soon. Bye.